that'll project them. See, so we have those out here on display. Okay.
And I see someone made a wood carving for you there.
And it was so skinny here, I took aluminum. And I spliced it on this side, on both sides, to give it strength. It was too weak here, you know. I said, they put the gun barrel, you know, he narrowed it down for the gun barrel. I said, but that's just too narrow. So I took aluminum and I bolted both. And it's got corner rounds.
Yeah.
So it'll hold it, it'll make it more strong. Yeah. Okay.
Well, folks, hey, let's go in with Frank and get a nice tour. We're going to take the Marine Corps tour.
Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way. Okay. Were you in the Marine Corps then, or Army?
Yes, sir. No, I was in the Marine Corps. Yes, sir.
Okay, when you go into the Marine Corps, this is your enlisted locker. Everything you got was green, if you remember right.
Yep, olive drab.
And they get, there you
olive
go.
Drab.
And they give you this bucket of all the stuff in it.
Right, yes, absolutely.
The way we use this bucket, if a guy smoked when the smoking lamp was not lit, if he liked to smoke, put him on 5, 6 cigarettes in his mouth, light them all, put that over his head and say, when we hit that, we want to see a puff of smoke. So he, come on, I didn't see a puff of smoke. After a while, a puff of smoke would get out. So that was his smoking. That's he never drew a breath without smoke. The other one that used it, you'll see him on another video, he said the guy didn't shave. So he gave him a razor, put the bucket in his head upside down and double time in place and shave. And he cut himself once or twice, and after that he shaved every day.
Yeah.
Okay, and Dave, you remember this thing?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I've actually seen it used. One guy got his
we use ours all the time.
Yes, one guy, he says, Coomer's shower, and he didn't, and they dragged him in and used that on him and showed him.
That'll work.
That worked. And now back in the 40s and before, you only had this particular one. There was no chance to prove them. There was that particular one. Okay. When I first went in, this is what we had.
Yep.
And then as time went by, we got this one. Before I retired out of the Marine Corps, we got this one. Now, one other thing. Do you know what this is?
You know, I have no idea.
Okay, here's what it's used for. Polish your brass.
Well, I'll be done.
They quit doing that in the 50s. Now, they come out with a new thing now. The later one, they got a pin. They can pull it out and polish it and put it back in.
Right,
but years
that's what we have.
This is years ago. This was what was used. Yeah. Okay. Now.
Wow, this brings back memories.
Hey, that's what it's about. Now, this is the officers' locker box. They have a little more expensive. It's a little better built. It's deeper here, but they pretty much carry the same amount of things, military stuff. But the officers have a pistol, and they have the rifle, cleaning gear, brass. But they usually have a little booklet to keep notes on the men and different things that they need to know. Now, they also, whether you know it or not, it says officers' field mess.
Right.
But we in the Marine Corps never utilized this. We ate with the men. It's a service for 8. But the officers actually had one of these things. But the Marine Corps never did it apart. They always did everything their men did and ate with them. And as wet, they got wet as them, and as cold, they got as cold as them. They did. And everything was the same. Okay.
Right.
Behind you, Dave, we have the enlisted, which is made up of, you can tell the enlisted of the stripes, and the officers with the bars. Dog tags.
I still have my dog tag. Yep, we call that a John Wayne.
John Wayne.
We call that
P38. I don't know why he gets that. And then there's some of the ribbons have some old ID cards.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it's solid brass, and your tie clasp, 2 different sizes. They come out with the narrow ones in about a 60s, but they had the wide ones with all solid brass.
Correct.
This just shows I was a Mustang once, and you know what a Mustang is.
Yes.
He goes from officer enlisted. So when you cross over from the enlisted, you become an officer, and you make that with the advice and consent of the President. So the Senate, you become an officer and a gentleman. Congress makes you a gentleman. The officers carry a pistol, and if you have a command, you're lucky enough to command, you get a sword. Every officer doesn't get that unless you have a command.
Right.
I had several commands. Vietnam, United Nations, Korean, National Defense. And the officers' emblems are made of gold and silver, and they're high-class gold and silver. This I got just a week ago from Brown County for the Korean area. Now, this is I got from Hagel, Senator Captain Cornelius, because of Korea. He's the most recent defense. This is one of the uniforms I had as a young officer, and these are my enlisted rank. Just like down here would be the enlisted ranks and the officer ranks in the center. All righty. Now, one other thing I want to show you while we're here. Notice this over here?
Oh, yeah.
That is what we call the battle jacket. And I wore that when I was a drill instructor in Paris Island. That's me standing right there, old Cornelius.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had a command. And that's my second command. When I went in 53, I was a drill instructor in San Diego.
And then went to San Diego.
About in 68, McKean drowned those 8 Marines in Ribbon Creek. And he only had one drill instructor, so they quick started flooding in. I was a previous drill instructor. They took me out of Lejeune, sent me down to Paris Island. So now I have a command in, and I was a drill instructor. The only 2 places they have Marine Corps is Paris Island and San Diego.
Yeah.
I served both places. I served drill instructor 2 times.
Oh, be darned.
Now this is 47. This is nothing more than a camera you put underneath the aircraft to assess damage. You try to bomb a house, a bridge, or a building, then you go and assess, you get knocked the bridge out. They send in a camera. The plane is unarmed. All he has is a camera, and it's a tough job because he has to get in, take pictures, and he gets out on his own. Develop the things, enlarge it, do what you want to do. Here it is right here. Now they're digital. Let me turn this on.
Yeah.
This here is a field desk. It is a field desk. Got everything you need, and inside here there's a safe. You have a lock in here, it comes out here. Put it in the hasp is broken, you lock it, so that's your, any secret stuff you have in it. But our first sergeant used to always carry a lot of taco sauce, hot sauce, so when he eats, he pours a little hot sauce on his food. His own chairs and everything else, and this cover goes on top of here, and it's a portable field desk. This depicts an office, government chairs, government desk, government typewriter desk. There's a picture of me when I was a young captain. My sword, enlisted an officer. This was the more current. This is obsolete. The khakis went out in about, let me see, about 60s. The khakis went obsolete, and we had black and white MP like the Army years back, and now with crimson and gold. But that man was in, all over the world. He was a thing, and he still eats with me on Mondays at Bay City Pink.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's about 90 years old. That was his stuff he doing. He was an MP most of his time in service. This is the girl, and on these things we have. Were you here in Green Bay when they had the Honor Society, Medal of Honor Society, about 10 years ago? Everybody that ever was living, I got a book.
My cousin. Ken Stump is
Stump? He's right in Menasha.
Yes.
I got a picture of him. He's got his hand on my shoulder like this. He and I. He's got his hat on.
We went out for breakfast every once in a while.
Yeah.
We'll go out for
I got
breakfast.
his picture in here with him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and in here, every Marine that has a Medal of Honor that came out here, I'm standing by him as he signed the book. The guy that donated and made the book, he put up the whole thing together. He's a millionaire out here. He gives out some things. He gave me this about 2 weeks ago, and he signed the book. He said, "Frank, you got more signatures than I did here." LaValle, he put the whole thing together. Yeah, and so I got the picture of all of them that was here in Green Bay. They signed it, but the ones of Marines, I'm with them. I'll show you that later. Now this is the air wing, because our first 10 years infantry, the second 10 years I was made the med crews. I was at air wing electronics. I went back into electronics and serviced all these aircraft. So we have both the entry and the air wing in here. Okay, right here, before we go any further, we have every uniform that we ever had in service back in 1776. As he advanced through the Spanish-American War, has moved on up, Banana Wars, they got on here, the more current ones. So they've got every uniform that we've ever had there if you're interested in looking at some of this. And over here we have every war that we've ever been in, and it tells how many we lost. And How many served, missing, wounded, or died? During the Civil War, you had how many? 200,000 in the South, and the North had 365,000 died. So there's a lot of them died. Now, dying is a bad thing, but we've been at war, these wars 2 and 3 years, and we lose this many.
Yeah.
Now we've been fighting 13 years, and we feel about 5,000, which isn't bad, because when we were in Korea, we were losing 1,000 a day under McNamara in Korea. 5 days we would have lost as much as we lost now in 13 years. So this is what the Korean War bought us, and the Vietnam War. I have a schedule of that. Okay, this is nothing more than cold weather stuff,
Right.
field stuff, and pack if you need it. Were you in the cold weather training? Did you make that?
Yes.
Okay, then you remember
Oh, yeah.
getting out of that, putting on your socks, your undershirt, your jacket, trousers, your insert for your jacket, and these.
Oh, that brings back fond memories.
Boy, I'll tell you, that served me. This one in Korea, I bet the enemy probably could have caught me, because this is all metal on the outside here. And I had mine bent like this. You can bend it any way you want. All I could see, they could have come sideways and come and captured me. I'd go on patrol with something like this, because it was all just to keep warm. Right and left hand shooting glove, either one you have. Hat, remember this? And you can touch all these. Oh my God! Look, pick that up.
Oh.
And that doesn't have water or the
Yeah, it doesn't have like,
tool
yeah.
or stuff. But that's the ammunition we carried right there.
Yeah.
Those are all loaded ammo belt. And then if you're going on a combat patrol, you might even take a bandolier of more ammo
Right.
with you. That's your ammo.
You
This
know.
is your pack,
Yeah.
haversack, and I'm going to make a full pack eventually with your shelter half. All the poles on the right, this front pole on the other by has the other half. Entrenching tool. Field winter sleeping bag. And then this we put on, above all of that, we put this Parker on.
Yeah.
When on patrol, that hung between your legs like this, and you snapped it even. And we had leather shoes initially in Korea. And then later on, we got these particular things. But those are warm too. Okay. This is some of the older uniforms we had. It's obsolete now.
Good old piss pot.
There you go. You'll see more of this later too.
Good old piss pot.
And this is the khakis. They're obsolete.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is our herringbone. They're obsolete in about a 55. They went out. Every button had metal U.s.Marine on that. And then we came out later on with other buttons. This is First World War ammo. This is how it's set out. You hook this on your machine gun.
Right.
And then the Second World War, we just popped this up and used it. This is the First World War 50s. You put this on, pushes in, this went over that, pulled it down, and a pin went through this, down through here, right in the center. Put another pin through that. The Second World War was just like this, just pop it open and use it. So that's the difference between those particular ones. Ammunition, 81 millimeter mortars, and most of your ammunition came in boxes.
Right.
But if they're more delicate, then they built them a little stronger so they wouldn't explode in handling.
Yeah, we were.
Our communications, double E8 if you want to talk to somebody. And if he wanted to call you back, you're connected by wire. But you only use that if you're in a stationary, like in Korea, we're stationed along the DMZ. And if an incoming hit this or a tank run it over, you have to go through the night, pulling like this, looking for where it broke until you find it. You have probably packed like that, cable 200 yards of wire and a man behind you with a weapon. And there you go through the night trying to find where the break is and repair it. Otherwise, if you're moving, we had the PRC-6 and the PRT-10s wireless. You could talk to each other. But otherwise, we set up a defensive position with this. Okay, now, it's stenciling gear. Then later on in about the 70s you came out with this.
Right.
But the pattern was too big. You could still be detected from the air. So now we came out with a digital 1/4-inch pattern like that. It's harder to spot, harder to detect, so that started to use that. These were found mainly on a Jeep in winter.
Right.
You could use break through the ice. This was on a Jeep in summer and break through the dirt and stuff. But those are your picks. And this is chemical warfare. The gloves, This is like a big sheet. You just open it up, it's a clear, and put it over you in case of an attack for the dropping. This is your trousers and jacket for decontamination. Okay, just ammunition. Ammunition is a whole support mission by itself. But all the other positions other than infantry is made to support the man walking way out front with a weapon. Everything is to support him. Air is to support him. Tanks to support him. Naval guns to support him. So the most important man is a man walking in front carrying a gun. And I was infantry 10 years.
I noticed the sea rats, good old sea rats. I remember them well. You know, I would save up because the only really good thing I liked was the coffee.
Really?
And I got out before they started with the MRIs
Yeah.
and all that, MREs or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
And I would save up all them little coffee packets. I had them for years.
This guy used to say, one guy, he'd take the milk. I hated it. But he'd take the dry milk,
Oh,
he'd put it in, pound it, and I'd get all the milk powder, and then he'd take a little drink at his canteen.
yeah.
I thought it was terrible.
Oh,
and
it
I
was.
did not like the ham and limas. They were salty, too salty. I'd trade those. But you got a good choice, you know.
Oh, yeah, you always got a good choice.
Meatballs, ham, pork,
Beef with the
beef.
spice.
Yeah, so you got a lot of, and that was yours. It says
Oh, yeah, beans and-
individual.
Right.
The whole box would be yours for a week.
Yeah.
That's yours. If you go on a day trip or so, just a couple of weeks, you might get one of these. But
Right.
that was yours. And with a big can of sterno. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
A day trip, you got a small can of sterno.
Right.
Okay, but turn around one time and I'll show you what we got here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me get the light on it. You live close by, or are you out of town? Or
We live over in Appleton.
Oh, that's easy. You gotta go here more often than you're just a minute away. We go have breakfast in Appleton on 47 Richmond. Okay, this is a First World War, everything here. My dad was in the First World War. There he is. There's his discharge, and then his First World War I Victory Medal. Above it is his shaving gear. There's a barrel. To the left is a head, and the other three things around it are the brazier blades,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
can still read them yet. They're still legible. Is that clear? It's pretty good.
Oh, be
That's
darned.
the helmet, and this is a pack. I got a newer pack. I want to put that out there. World War I aluminum mess gear. In World War I, they came in a brown carrying case with a knife, fork, and spoon in the case, and then this was in there. And that's how you carried it. And then the World War II's changed. And in World War I, you had the combat rations, K rations, as opposed to the C rations we
Right.
just got here. These ones says breakfast. I don't know what's in there, but for breakfast, that was your breakfast.
Yeah.
This says you have pound cake, and this says peanut butter. So it's kind of a little different. First World War I, your bandolier had buttons, just like you would on your shirt. You had to unbutton them and take them out. Well, now the new ones, I'm going to lay a new one around here, I think, where they just paper or cloth, just pull it apart and pull out your ammo. But these were actually buttoned in. There was old rations, leggings, some leggings. Now my dad also had the wrap leggings. He used to have to wrap and wrap and wrap like an old long ace bandage.
Yeah.
But there's another type of, they had leggings before back then. Now, Dan, I'm going to show you something you'll probably never see again. You see those two canteens?
Yep.
They're silver tops. That's First World War I. The one on the left has a metal hook to your belt. The one on the right has a 40-inch belt. See the loops on the side?
Yep.
And that was to put on a saddle horn. That's a
Oh.
cavalry canteen.
Can't
See, so that it goes along with cavalry. And there's a foot stirrup for one of the U.S. government things.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's my dad was cavalry back in those days.
Well, I'll be
They
darned.
had the old shaver kit even too, the long blade if you needed it, old gas mask. And we had old Congressman Green help get some of the old records for him to get some of these papers, get the medal. Okay, now above here, this was the First World War. 3040 Craig, Springfield, 5 side loads, bolt action.
Yep.
And this is enlisted sword and hat. This is a women's hat and a commemorative 1911 Colt 45. There's the old BAR, Browning Automatic Rifle scorebook. Yeah, you ever shoot one of those, BAR? That's obsolete too.
Yeah.
This is a ceremonial sword. This is an actual officer's sword, just like this one. This is a Second World War weapon. This is what the men use now in their silent drill team.
Right.
M1 Grand, 30 caliber, 9.5 pounds, and their bayonet. This is the officer's hat and sword. Now, this Mameluke sword was given to me about 5 years ago. We were at a reunion. The guy says, "You got a museum, Frank?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to give you a sword." And I told the wife, that's $600. He couldn't give me no sword. After breakfast, the last day, he said, "Frank, I'm going to mail you that sword." He said, he pointed at me. I said, "Yeah, thank you." I was home about a week and he mailed me the sword.
Is that right?
But he said, "You have to display it like this." Dedicated by Larry Jellison, carried by Major Jellison, his wife.
Oh,
So she passed away, but he has his own sword. He said, "I only need one." So he kept his own sword. He donated his wife's sword. Now this sword was another story to it too. A guy called me up one day in Arizona. I go to Arizona for the year, I told you.
Right.
He called me and said, "Frank, I saw you have a museum." I said, "You want my dad's old sword?" "Sure, I'll take it." He was a Navy guy. And he said he didn't get along with his dad. When he turned 18, he joined the Navy. His dad was a drill instructor.
My dad was in the Navy, and my older brother Howie joined the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps, and my younger brother Ricky joined the Marine Corps. And of course, my dad being a Navy guy down in Pearl Harbor and everything, he didn't agree with us. So
I'll show you.
there was a little bit of lightning there.
I'll show you pictures of my family too. We got a couple Army Marines with my dad being killed. But anyway, this he said he was in air conditioning controlled air storage for 5 years. So he gave it to me. He said, "When I die," he said, "you're just going to give it away." He was alone, and so he donated it to me. Schneider, I think was his name. It's written on the top blade. If you pull it out right here, sometime you'll see the positions of the name.
Oh, yeah.
If you go back far enough here. Maybe it's on the other side. They can put in their name right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so much for that. Let's move right along. Okay, now just for the heck of it, you can lift one of that thing and see how heavy that sucker is.
Oh,
that's
right.
a little one.
Yeah,
Little one.
Yeah.
And just can you imagine lifting something like that? Neither one of them have the powder in them. But so there, it's all the projectile.
Oh yeah, I picked them up already.
This is a gun. This is a howitzer.
Right.
And this is a mortar. This is training mortars. And these are training for the aircraft. You can fire them and recover them and do it again. They just see the pilot can drop and hit his target, or he overshoots his target, you know. So these are training bombs that they use. Okay, this is the officer's uniform. This is just kind of a picture of soldiers and different things like that. Put together a little, I built this thing.
Well,
What do you call it again? Stretcher. So we just put that together here recently. And this is the MREs.
Right.
Ready for issue right here. Ready to eat.
Yeah,
and, if
ready
you're,
to eat.
and if you're vegetarian, they even have a vegetarian meal.
I'll be darned.
Isn't that something? Now over here, this was, I had one of these myself. It has a bib. And you just button it across. And if you don't want it, unbutton it and fold it back. And it disappears. But that's an old one, herringbones they call that. They don't have that. I've seen guys with in their museum, they see this button because it has gold written on it. This girl is standing right over there in one mannequin. This is her skirt and blouse. She donated to me. Knew I had a museum, and her husband is a Marine. So they got out of the Marine Corps. She's working on the base now in Arizona, but she donated this to me. And when we went in back in the 50s, we were given green woolen shirts, long sleeve shirts. Probably you didn't get those probably.
No.
But that's the old Corps issue. They give you this blanket, horse blanket, all overcoat. Heavy, and when you get wet, it's even heavier.
Yeah.
So in the late 50s, they came out with this particular thing, and they came out with the new Staff Sergeant markings of the cross rifle. But these were lighter weight, and they had to insert lining, so that made it easier. Jumpsuit for the air. So this one's obsolete now. Now this is an officer's dress blues.
Yeah,
This is obsolete. I know this is obsolete. I wore that in Hawaii. This is the officer's blues, the one. But this is so formal. I mean, that uniform probably $1,500 right there.
yeah,
And you buy it. The same as this, you buy your blues.
right.
Unless you get number one, you graduate or you're going on embassy duty, they don't issue these. You have to buy them. This one again is just a sweater for cold
Yeah.
weather. This, a guy gave me that. He wore it to pieces. He was a helicopter crewman, and he's reversible, totally reversible. If you get shot down, you just turn it inside out, and SCR can find you.
Right.
Now we had a little pack, like I was telling you, like that. We carried a flag, so that if we wanted to get air support, we laid that flag down. The pilot could see it and see everything north of that, and bomb it. You know, they knew where we were, and it came to handy. There's Captain Knox in front of me, like Fort Knox. They got in a firefight. There was one patrol was here, and another patrol was here. They turned and they saw these people at a distance about a half mile. They start to shoot, and he got up with that big flag and just stood there and waved it. Basically, stupid, but he did it. They stopped shooting. They realized, you know, there's friendly fire. They had started to shot themselves. This is the shooting jacket that we had, and this is cold weather or wet weather. We stole that from the Navy, but we use that. And this is the Ike.
You wouldn't steal nothing.
You know, we were in Stead Air
That's
Force
right.
Base on a fire, fighting a fire once back in about the '62. We went up there with just our jackets like this.
That's why we had
At
Scott.
night, when it gets down, the sun gets down in the mountains,
Oh.
it's cold. So I had a 6x, I took my I had 18 Marines, we were just supporting them. We went to Stead Air Force Base, ate breakfast, and when you come out, there's a big hallway, everybody hangs your coat to go and mess up. When we come out, everybody had a jacket, and we jumped in a truck and went back. Everybody stole it.
As long as it worked.
Stole a jacket. And then after you're all dressed up and
Where are you
And now,
from?
here you go.
Yep. Yep.
that's your flak jacket.
Yep.
Now this you put on after you're fully dressed, got all your ammo, water, and grenades and everything else. So it's conceivable a Marine, 160, 70 pounds, when he puts all his ammo and all
All
that
his
stuff,
gear.
he's carrying more than his weight. He puts
Oh,
it on.
yeah.
So then put
Well, yeah, most definitely.
Now, up in Washington DC, you'll see this, the Korean monument. There's about 6, 8 Marines walking through the forest in the ponchos. You'll see, have you been to Washington and see that one?
No.
Okay, they're walking
No,
through, all
okay.
carrying the weapons, and they're all in this particular, it's a Korean one, so it's quite the thing. We were up there, and then we went to Quantico, that's outside, but then in the Quantico demonstration, the room is bigger than this, about twice as big as this, cold, it's air conditioned. Snow here, snow there, and men dead and half covered in snow. Machine gun shooting out to the far hills, you could just see the tracer, and it's really, really impressive. You haven't seen that, and a guy calling in fire, you know, but you could hear the sounds and everything. It's really, really nice. Now this one, I was told you I'd talk to you a little bit about that. There are only 6 Indians out here that has a commission. I'm one of them in the Marine Corps. And the highest rank is a lieutenant commander. She's on the far right. And if you ever go to the hospital here, she's working at the new VA hospital. She's a nurse out there. And she's a lieutenant commander, but there's 6 of us. The people in red are the presenters for the Elks. The
Oh,
Elks
okay.
gave us, all the Indians, a service award like this. And the Indians are the only one who can have a feather. I got 2 of them. Here's one of them here. Eagle feather. And there's an Indian beaded Vietnam, and there's a Korean beaded Vietnam
Yeah,
ribbon.
I see that.
There's a little ceremony, and there's a thing where they give it to me, a picture where I got my eagle feather. And like I said, I have 2 now. And then my oldest brother here was drafted in the Army. And then he found out by jumping out of a plane, he can get $50, so he signed up with the Airborne, and that's where he ended up Airborne. And my other brother just drafted. He enlisted, and so he went in, he was out of Fort Riley. And he used to come visit me when I went in boot camp, and then we talked together after I got out of boot camp. These 2 younger brothers followed me into the Marine Corps, so they stayed together most of the time, but towards the end he went in drum and bugle because he had music, and he got into Ontos before he got discharged in '60. So with my father and these 2, we had 3 in the Army, and me and these 2, we had 3 in the Marine Corps, you know, so we had 6 of us in the family, and we were all on active duty, you know, at kind of the same time. You staggered, overlap a little bit. Okay, Over here, we have some other T-bars, World War I and World War II, and then